Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Commerce Lab by Ecomcy, the pleasure air related to Amazon FBA Private Level and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy, and today we bring you another special guest. His name is Mario Simonyan, and he's actually a founder and CEO of ESQgo, where they specialize on everything that has to do with law associated with, selling on Amazon, the intellectual property. And he doesn't only work with small sellers, also with big brands. And the reason why I wanted to bring Mario today is because Amazon is changing very fast, especially when it comes to really the side that Amazon is taking when it comes to anything going down from an IP point of view, with your trademark, with your all the documentation. And I just wanted to really hear the take from somebody like Mario in terms of how we can protect ourselves and what are some of the best practices when it comes to really navigating this as we go into the remainder of 2026. So Mario, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. How you doing?
Thank you, Vincenzo. I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good, good. So pleasure to have you here. So I'm really looking forward to learn from you. So I guess before we jump into the topic for today, maybe just give us, a deeper intro by yourself and we can go from there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I used to be an Amazon seller, built and sold two seven-figure brands. Once I sold those, at that point, I was already an attorney. So we started this law firm, right? Now our law firm helps brands anywhere doing $2 million all the way up to $100 million with brand enforcement and really regaining control over any infringers they may have on marketplaces, unauthorized resellers, or copycats. So that's where our focus is.
Love it, love it. So I think that brings a lot of experience for today's, episode because as I mentioned, Amazon is changing pretty fast, and I see that on a daily basis when I talk to all the brands that we manage, and I go to a lot of events. People is sometimes scared about, how protected I am when it comes to doing operations on Amazon. So I guess I would like to hear firsthand from you, Mario. Like, what are some of the latest things you are seeing? Maybe some of the things that you feel people should be aware that's happening more often. Like maybe let's start with a kind of introduction of the current landscape and we can go from there. Yeah.
Sure. So this is something that I've been saying for a couple years now, right? Where it's like it feels like with every policy that Amazon comes up with, Vincenzo, seems like they're sort of winking to actual brands that, hey, we're here to serve you, we're here to protect you. If
Yes.
we sort of rewind the tape and look at, if you remember a few years ago, Amazon went after drop shippers, right? Completely cleaned out the marketplace from drop shippers. Soon after there, they started going after resellers and asking them for authenticity documents. What that
Yes.
means is the full supply chain, right? And now, just a couple months ago, we saw three policies being implemented or policy changes, right? Number one, the 3.5% FBA surcharge for fuel, right? That was number one. Number two, it was a 7 day sort of payment delay until actual delivery of the product. And then the third one is you can't use your credit card for Amazon ads anymore. And if you look at each of these policies in isolation, it may just look like, okay, they're sort of protecting their margins. But what I believe is if you take a zoom if you zoom out, if you take a look at the entire landscape, it really feels like Amazon's intention is to remove some of the resellers, some of the wholesalers. I don't think their intention is to remove all of them, but I
Yeah.
think this is a big wink to brands saying, hey, we want you guys on this marketplace, and we're going to remove anyone that's just a wholesaler and or just a wholesaler or reseller, right? And all of this, I believe, is because Amazon itself is maturing in its marketplace, right? They're the leader. So it's like whatever standards they set will soon be followed by Walmart, by TikTok, and really everyone else. But it is my belief that Amazon in the coming years will have a lot less wholesalers and resellers.
Yes. That's actually something I'm seeing quite a lot. In fact, last week I was in an event in Miami called the Miami Seller Conference, where everybody in there is a wholesaler, and this was a big issue. They were very concerned about how Amazon is making it so strict to ungate a brand or list a product, and now all this cash flow. Because at the end of the day, these changes mainly attack cash flow, which cash flow is everything for a wholesaler and it's really destroying so many business. And I think what Amazon is trying to do eventually is remove the middleman. They just want to go straight to the brand And that's something that to some extent like is also difficult for me to understand, because the reality is so many brands wouldn't be on Amazon if
Hmm.
it wasn't for the distributor that put them in there in the first
Yeah.
place. And now that they're there, is like it's also a bit unfair that all this is happening, because thanks to them, like they also have contributed to the expansion they're having. So I guess from your side, like what are some of the things you feel, at least maybe briefly touching on the wholesaler side of things, people can do to protect themselves? Like, are you seeing a lot of these wholesalers now launching their own private label brands? Are they migrated to other marketplaces? What are you seeing? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that falls into a few categories. Number one, Vincenzo, we've had so many clients come to us and say, hey, we're the brand. We own this actual brand and trademark, but we gave, for example, Adam permission to sell our products on Amazon, right? And they may have exclusive access to the platform. Now they say, you know what? We took a look at our margins and now it's like we want to take over the listings. Now, is that fair? Depends which from which perspective you're looking at, right? From one perspective, like you said, that reseller did all that work to build the listings, to get all that seller feedback or product
Mhm.
feedback, and really boost the BSR. And now the brand wants to take over. But from the brand's perspective, is we had an agreement and our agreement
Mhm.
is up, or now we want to sort of renegotiate our agreement. So I definitely understand both perspectives. But for any reseller doing that, I would say make sure that your contract is very tight and you understand what your contract and agreement protects you from and for how long, right? Because for brands coming in wanting to take over their products, there's nothing a reseller can do unless there's a contract in place. Even when there's a contract, they still need money to litigate if it's going to get to that, right? Attorney fees, all of that. That's number one. Number two, for any reseller, like we still have clients that are resellers, right? I suggest number one, either go ahead and set up your own brand because you've got so much experience. You've done this, right? The brand doesn't have experience on Amazon. So go ahead and come up with your own brand, or just go ahead and purchase a private label brand, right? There's
Yeah.
marketplaces that obviously sell these, but that's what I would say. But again, I don't see resellers and wholesalers lasting very long on Amazon. Or you could obviously look at different channels, different platforms for you to sell your products on. So you're not dependent solely on Amazon.
Awesome. So now, shifting gears into essentially what is also happening beyond like cash flow and everything. That of course is a big thing, and I don't know if you even saw with the credit card when that happened, there were even communities trying to try to fight Amazon back by not spending money on Amazon and all that. So it was interesting to see how the community is reacting. So I think out of that, not only the cash flow is an issue, but I also see a lot of issues when it comes to compliance, which I briefly want to touch on. Like, I see Amazon being more rough now with suspension of ASINs, suspension of accounts, and AP and all of that. So, what are you also seeing with that? Like, do you see Amazon being more harsh with that? And if so, what are some of the, I guess, the advice you can give for people to be ready for those things? Yeah.
Sure. So Vincenzo, keep in mind whatever I say, whatever response I give is going to be a bit biased, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
from one perspective. But what we're seeing on the brand enforcement side is that Amazon, especially, is more respectful of
Yeah.
brands' IP rights. What does that mean? So in the IP world, under trademarks, there's something called obviously the first sale doctrine, which a lot of resellers know about. But there's an exception to that first sale doctrine that says, Vincenzo, you could go ahead and sell that product, that iPhone that you purchased, you have every right to resell it. But it can't be materially different. Now, materially different
Exactly.
is a legal term, but what does that mean? Essentially, is if this product comes with a bundle of rights and benefits, if you're reselling it, that better come with the same bundle. It could be warranty, it could be pre-sale support or post-sale support. It could be an additional, for example, warranty or Apple Care that you receive that the reseller is
Hmm.
not able to provide. So before, when we used to make Amazon, we used to make material difference arguments to Amazon, they wouldn't respect it as much. So what we had to do is then see if this infringer or violator is infringing or violating Amazon's policies, or if there's any regulatory compliance issues that reseller raises. And we would just combine those three arguments under our sort of three pillars of brand enforcement and report
Yeah.
that. Amazon is being a lot more receptive to those arguments, especially the IP material difference arguments. Because again, going back to what I said, I feel like Amazon is giving a big wink and saying, hey, brands, I'm on your side, right? So that's number one. Number two, FTC side, earlier this month, there was a big announcement or sort of reveal that because of the Trump administration's executive order, the FTC is going after brands and also marketplaces, Amazon and Walmart, for any made in USA claims. So if brands have made in USA claims, but it's not actually completely made in the USA, they could pose fines from the FTC. The FTC is also putting pressure on Amazon to sort of say, you need to monitor your own sellers. If there's third party sellers, you need to go ahead and flag and let us know if someone is using deceptive claims such as made in the USA. There were three companies that got hit with fines from the FTC. One of them, my favorite, was a flag manufacturer. So they were manufacturing
Hmm.
flags, US flags, and on it they had proudly made in the USA or made in the USA. It
Yeah.
turns out that they were actually made in China. So they got hit with about $100,000 fine if I remember correctly.
Wow.
So what I'm telling our clients, our brands, is go ahead and audit your listings, any marketing material you have. If your product isn't made in the USA completely, then you need to reword that, or you need to go back and maybe delete some old social media posts that you had that says made in the USA or has the American flag or the American bald eagle on it. Right? You need to go ahead and audit that. But we also have clients that are using that as sort of a sword. They're saying, okay, we're in full compliance, but my competitor over there, he's not. I know his products are not made in the USA, but it says made in the USA, right? So we're seeing this being used as definitely a sword, but it's something that our clients that we're advising them to go ahead and audit their listings and really all of their marketing material.
Now, with all these things that is happening in terms of AI, I briefly want to touch on this because I'm seeing that a lot of people is also getting in trouble because of AI because they're optimizing the images, their copy, and they're not really proof checking. They upload it, and a lot of times you can have infringement on things that you shouldn't mention or things like that. So, are you seeing also that becoming a bigger issue lately with Amazon
So
sellers, at
because
least?
so because AI is so new, like there's not a lot of case law around it, right? Like especially in the copyright area.
Yeah.
So this is a developing area, but what we're seeing with our clients with our brands is they'll have infringers that no longer are lazy and just take the same image, but they'll take that
Hmm.
image, run it through Claude or whoever it may be, and refreshing that image, and now they have sort of a new image, right? That's generated. So it enforcement side is becoming a little bit more complicated, if especially if you don't understand how AI can sort of change
Yeah.
pictures and sort of update them. That's becoming a little bit more complicated. But this is what's been happening forever, right? It's
Mm.
cat and mouse game. Brands will do something, infringers will go ahead and adapt and use new tools, and then the brands now have to come up with new systems and new processes to identify that new cat and mouse game. So
Yeah.
it's not anything that we haven't seen for years, right?
Nice. Now, in terms of when it comes going back to the brand compliance and everything, something I'm also seeing on the brand registry side of things is that Amazon also seems to be implementing some level of AI. It seems as well in terms of checking things and all of that. Like in the back end, I see they are flagging things much faster, sometimes way more aggressive than what it should. So are you seeing this system of Amazon flagging things becoming like very accurate, or you still see a lot of clients coming to you getting flagged by things that have no sense at all? Like, how
Yeah,
do you see the backend kind of being optimized
yeah.
and in a case by case kind of a scenario? Yeah.
Yeah. So Amazon's process, just like any other AI system, isn't perfect yet, right? So we are seeing sometimes our own clients' products being marked as infringing when we're like, that's our own product, right?
Mm,
So we are seeing that. But again, my take on AI is this is the worst that it's going to ever be, Vincenzo. All right.
mm,
So obviously Amazon is investing a lot in AI.
yeah.
I hope that does improve. But a lot of that, to be quite honest and fair with you, is we don't see that because clients will come to us whenever that AI hasn't captured the infringers or removed the infringers, right? Or Amazon's algorithm hasn't captured that. They'll come to us and say, hey, these are the infringers or these are the unauthorized sellers, and we would like to see if we could get them removed. So I'm
I
sure
see.
AI will improve, but I don't foresee infringement issues completely going away with AI.
Cool. Now, another thing, I was actually talking to a guy last week about this, and it seems like, for example, Amazon listing hijacking seems to be more and more difficult now. It seems like it's pretty, I mean, it's not totally gone, still happens. But what is your take on that? Are you also seeing that being kind of totally removed across some of the categories by what Amazon is doing?
Yeah, I don't know when this happened, but my theory is sort of like somewhere in the last year, I feel like brand protection got a brand registry got a boost and now is a lot more useful and effective.
Hmm.
But what we're still seeing is hijackers that were on the listings before sort of
Yeah.
can still remain there unless you take action. But new hijackers, I feel like brand registry does a better job of removing them. So again, going back to my
Hmm.
statement about it's just another cat and mouse game is we see infringers and unauthorized resellers jump onto other platforms. We've had many cases where we know that if we remove these infringers from Amazon or unauthorized sellers from Amazon, they're not going to just close down their business, Vincenzo. If they, especially if they have inventory or especially if there's profit in that product, they still have the supplier. They're just going to
Yeah.
go on TikTok or they're going to go on Walmart, right? They're going to
Resell it.
go on eBay. And they're going to go other places. And I completely understand them too. That's just going to be part of the game. So it's like something we
Yeah.
tell our clients is, hey, I'm pretty confident we can remove them from Amazon, but just know that the battle, the
They
war
have
is
the product.
there, right? It's going to
Yeah.
move somewhere else too. Right?
Yes, 100%. So now, I guess in terms of future proofing, based on everything we have discussed so far, I think something that people don't do quite often, and I want to hear your take on this, is kind of, I guess, as an insurance point of view, is you should go through all these checkpoints that we have mentioned today, like compliance, the IP, and everything, before anything happens. And I guess what I want to ask you, how do you see sellers actually being proactive when it comes to this? Because I see actually sellers being more reactive when it's too late than proactive. And what
Yeah.
is your advice in terms of how often you should be checking, I guess, your the loopholes or the weak points of your business to make sure that you get attacked, you know?
Yeah. So again, if we're talking about the IP side, if you guys are having a loss in the buy box percentage, obviously know that something is wrong, right?
Hmm.
So you could come to a law firm like us. We could go ahead and audit everything and ensure, and this is completely complimentary, and make sure that you don't have any unauthorized resellers or infringers. That's number one. That's something that can be done proactively, right? Number two, if we're talking about the FTC issues, go ahead and audit the listings. Take a look at your hero image or all the images, your bullet points, your social
Hmm.
media posts, even your website to make sure if you've got anything made in America or made in USA or any American flags that you're auditing and ensuring that that's really accurate before you decide to still continue to leave it on there. Right? That's that. Now on the reseller side, again, my thoughts with that is look to get into an actual brand because if Amazon sets the standard, you know Walmart's going to quickly follow. So go ahead and don't rely just on the reseller business, but look at establishing an actual brand.
Nice. And in terms of timelines, because something I also see when it comes to taking action across some of these fields, there's recommendations are sometimes here that it's never advisable to do anything on this field when it's close to Prime Day or Black Friday or Q4 because of how overwhelmed Amazon customer support might get, and then it might completely kind of bottleneck how fast you can get things resolved. So is that something that you also see, like you need to be strategic when to actually troubleshoot some of these things?
Again, that's another reason, Vincenzo, where it's like they need to actually plan these out, right?
Mm,
Like around Prime Day or around Q4, you probably don't want to
yeah.
be making a lot of changes. But on the flip side, I think you need to talk to someone that is in this space for them to let you know what the pros and cons are, right? Because again, your competitors may be reporting you for something
Hmm.
around Q4 or Prime Day. So it's
Exactly.
like if you're not taking action to fix your listings, you know your competitors, if they're smart enough, they're going to look to capture your own
Quick
brand,
points.
and
Yeah.
sort of that's what they'll do, right?
Cool.
So it's
Cool.
like obviously
Like,
go ahead and plan it out, but sometimes you do need to make changes in Q4 and around Prime Day, and sometimes you may realize that it's just better if I leave it alone and just take the chance.
love it. So I guess to start bring everything full circle and start coming to a closure, Mario. Is there anything else you feel you would like to bring for today's kind of conversation that you think we left out and it would be valuable for people to be aware of?
One thing that we haven't touched on is the brands and clients that we deal with. Sometimes the issues can't be resolved through any issue that they're facing, whether it's lost inventory
Hmm.
or damaged inventory. Sometimes it can't be resolved through Amazon's own channels, right? So I've done plenty of videos about arbitration and breaking down what arbitration against Amazon looks like. And you don't have to go to arbitration only when your account is suspended, right?
Yeah.
You could go to arbitration. We've had several cases. We've taken cases to arbitration. Account is completely active, very healthy, but Amazon lost $1 million worth of inventory, right?
And then want
So
to
you can
pay.
still take it to
Yeah.
arbitration, and just because you take Amazon to arbitration doesn't mean they're going to put you on their blacklist and say, "Oh, I'm Vincenzo, I'm going to get you now. I'm going to suspend your account." We've never seen that happen, right?
Yeah, that's actually good that you mentioned, because I know a lot of times sellers in same situation like you mentioned, Amazon owns them a lot of money and they rather lose the money than actually go into a fight that you
Yeah.
legitimately have the right to fight for it. It's like because they don't want to be blacklisted and they're afraid of that.
Yeah, you usually clients like that. Once they talk to me, I can explain that there really is no risk. We've done over 500 pre-arbitration and arbitration cases, and we've never had Amazon sort of put someone on the blacklist, assuming
Mhm.
that they were completely healthy before, right?
Exactly.
However, the clients that we encounter are sometimes have a little bit more maybe skeletons in their closet, and that's why they don't want to go
They have
after us,
baggage.
right?
Yeah.
So that's usually the reason. But otherwise, I suggest even if your account's healthy, we could go after them for lost inventory or funds held.
Awesome. So that was awesome, Mario. Thank you so much for everything that you share with us today. I know it's just a tiny thing of everything that you do and your expertise. So I guess if people want to find you, work with you, how people can find you.
Sure. So you could send me an email, Mario, that's Mario at esco.com, ESQgo.com, or I'm usually on LinkedIn. I'm not as active as I'd like to be, but I'm also available on LinkedIn too.
Awesome. So I'm gonna make sure to put the details down below so people can find you. But other than that, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the show. And hopefully I see you next time in New York
Thank you. Thank you,
when I
Vince.
go.
Appreciate it. Great meeting you.
Yeah,
All right.
pleasure. Bye
Yeah.
bye. Take care. Have a good one. Take care.